Hey everyone, welcome to Hack Shack Studios. RT Bear here. 35, 36, 37. I can't even keep track of how many years I have invested in this wacky comic book industry, but I do. I'm an old man now. I'm an old man. I didn't start this way. I didn't start off as an old man. I started off as a young man. And I'm going to tell you tales of a young RT Bear hanging out with a very, very young Rob Liefeld. So that is going to be story time. Story time, I guess, early 80s? Yes, Linkovich. Story time. But first, my daughter bought me a donut. So that's the last of it right there. We should start every stream with a donut. So everybody in YouTube land, my advice to you, start off with the donut. If you start off with the donut, you will have a guaranteed good time, good stream. Well, I'm feeling good. Can you be angry and eat a donut? I don't think you can. I think the key to world peace is a donut. So when two angry people can't get along, give them a donut. Just give them a donut, and once they're done with it, world peace. I solved the world's problems, you guys, right here on YouTube. You guys thought you were going to get a Rob Liefeld story? No, you got world peace. You're welcome. So spread the word, you guys. Not only are you going to get a great stream, but you also got world peace. We got Roland, we got Skits. What's up, Skits? How's your book doing, man? Skits is in demand right now, and that book looks incredible. So keep up the good work. Go check out Skits. Indiegogo in demand. We have Studio 7.62. What is up? The sky is up. That is the oldest joke in the book, but I had to say it because, like I've already established, I'm an old man. I'm not sure what this means. I don't want to know what this means, El Gargoyle. Is that an eggplant or a purple penis? I don't know. I don't know. Hello, Art, Mr. K. What's up? Hope you're doing well. We have Pedro. Pedro, man, we got to do something. Pedro is a brilliant animator. He does great cartoon work. He did a black and white image, which I should try to find. I wonder if I can real quick. And he did I don't know what they call it, a cycle, like a run cycle of Black running with his gun. It was pretty damn cool. Let me see if I can find something real quick. I always feel like I'm letting Pedro down when I see him in the chat and I don't show his stuff. Let me see. I'm going through my files. Black and white. It should say like black and white animation. I don't see it. Black and white figure. Let's do this. Go to my other drive. Oh no. Where is it? I cannot find it. Wonder if it's on my desktop. Hold on, you guys. I know this is, we started off really strong. I didn't think this would take that long. Oh my gosh, where is it? It was always on my desktop. And now I do not see it. Well, you're just going to have to take my word if I can't find it. It is really, really cool. Hey, Pedro, can you send it to my... Oh, my gosh, I don't have it. Send it to my Twitter. Like, DM me. I'll show it off on the show. I can't find it, and I don't have a lot of time to rummage through other files, so I apologize for that. I thought it would be easy to find. So Roland, is this a question? This is a question. Did you ever get the DM of my review via Facebook? I don't know. Let me check. I'm gonna write down. So Roland, I take it it's a black and white review. I'll check it once we're done here. So if I have not, I apologize. So, oh, I forgot. Did I say, hey, Mr. K? Yeah, I did say that. What kind of donut? I like, what do they call those? Devil's food? Just chocolate donut. My wife I like them too. What are they called? The ones that are, oh my gosh, what are they? Glazed donuts? Glazed donuts? My kid's like me. She likes the devil's food. The devil inside. The devil inside. Caca. I see some cacaing in the chat here. It's going great. That's great to hear, man. I like everybody in comic books that's trying to make a living. I like them all doing well. The Canuck. Hey Art, I was watching the stream from last night with Michael on it, and your Karen stream. Those were good. We're gonna try. My daughter and I are gonna try to do Karen streams on the weekend. So weekend at Karen's. So we're gonna try to do that. There's a lot of Karen videos, and my daughter and I bond over the Karen videos. So it's a good time around here. Some people say it's mean, but the thing is, like they're like, oh, how do you make fun of Karens? And they kind of like blame me. Like some people are saying like that's mean. There are nice people named Karen, and I'm like, I didn't name them Karen. Somebody else did that. I don't know how these things happen. You know, Karens. I don't know how it happens, but it happens. And just think about this. There were people named Dick. And it was a normal name. There were a lot of people that had the name Dick. And then all of a sudden somebody turned it into a bad word. And then everybody that was named Dick had to go by Richard or Rich. So I don't make these rules, you guys. I don't make this stuff up. But I'm glad you enjoyed the Karen stream, and we're going to try to do more of those. And last night it was good to have Michael Bancroft on the show. I really enjoy hanging out with Michael. He's a good guy, and he has a pretty killer YouTube channel going as well. So go check that out. Yes, Donut. It was good too. Art. Okay, here it is. Sent you DM for my black and white review. Facebook. I will check that. Oh, wait a minute. What happened here? Everything jumped. I was one place and then it jumped, and that's why I clicked on that. All right, nice banner. All right, story behind the banner. We are wait, which way should I move? This way? This way. And we're cleaning up the house. So this used to be on the wall of the T-Bear vault room, which is the adjoining studio room here. And I had to pull it down because we're going to have people looking in our house. We're going to have a bunch of strangers in the house, and they're going to be looking at stuff, and they're going to see that, and they're going to go, what the hell is this? Like, you guys think it's cool. I think it's cool. But most people don't. They'll go, what is this, a kid's room? No, it's an adult's room. An adult that loves comic books. Let me see if I can do, wait, hold on. Let me see if I can do something here. So far, this has not been working out when I try to do something different, but let's see. All right, I'm gonna see if I can show you this better. So I got the camera here. So this thing is really tall. It's maybe 10 feet tall. So why is it not moving? There we go. And so I did a charity, a Ronald McDonald's House charity. This camera is not accurate at all. And so I did the charity for Ronald McDonald House, and they had this set up. So this was the backdrop for where I was signing. So it was really, really cool. So it's got the image on the other side too. So it's got the same image on both sides. And so at the end of the signing, it was 2 days. At the end of the signing, I asked him, I said, could I have that? And I don't know how he got it home because it's really big. Probably strapped it on the roof of the car. And we drove it home, and it's been here ever since. So it's been in this house for 30 years. Well, let me think. All right, black and white's 25 years. So it's been at least 25, 26 years. So it's been in the house for 25, 26 years. So yeah, it's weird. I don't know if any of you guys have sold a house or moved. It's kind of, you look forward to the new move, the adventure of the new place, but at the same time, it's kind of melancholy because you're like, I gotta move this, or I gotta uproot this, or sometimes you're even like, I might throw this away. So yeah, it's kind of a weird emotional ride. But anyways, back to the Ronald McDonald charity, we raised a bunch of money for them, so it's a good cause. If you guys don't know, what it does is it if there's kids that are sick, it helps the parents. So I think it's housing for the parents, so they can put the parents up close by the hospital, so they can visit the kids without a lot of like back and forth traveling. Hit the like button. Oh my gosh, hit the like button, you guys. 21 watching, 10 likes. Something is wrong here. I agree, something is wrong here. But it's not something that we cannot fix. We can fix it. All right, so let me see. I got a notice for a, there it is. Thank you so much, Gaming or What. TM, always trademark $5. Much appreciated. Thank you so very much. So I think I've kind of brought everything up to date. And I'm going to tell my story now. We should get some more people in here. If you guys could tweet out, this is going to be an epic tale. Uncanny, yeah, 281 was published in 91, 19 years ago. It had to be longer than that. Black and White is 25. That was 94. Cable was 94. So I think it was longer than that. But I'm not going to arm wrestle you because I did this before Cable, and I did this before Black and White, and Black and White was in 94. So yeah, it probably was. Yeah, it was 91. Yeah, it was 91. Exactly. You are on it, Roland. I'm sorry, my math got a little reversed there. Yeah, 1991. It was a good year. The whole 90s were pretty good. The end of the 90s, when the market started crashing, was not good. Everybody's saying 29 years. Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, because Black and White was 25, and this was before that. So that sounds about right. You guys are on it, in it to win it. Wow, you guys are all good at math, way better than me. Let's see what King Crow says about Karens, and I'm going to tell my story. The Karen meme, I think it comes from a Goodfellas. The nagging wife was Karen. Oh, there's the origin right there. I'll have to look into this. The nagging wife was Karen, and she was the worst. Okay, but then don't they like say the male equivalence is like a Kyle or Kevin? I don't know any Kyles, but I know a lot of Kevins, and every Kevin I know is pretty cool. Like I said, I can't vouch for the Kyles out there. 95 was the last good year for, what is this? 95 was the last year for a good dance mix CD. So the Canuck was a dancer. If you could dance, you could kind of do well with the women. I wasn't a big dancer. I did go out, and I would take dates out dancing, but I was never really that good at it. I had my white guy overbite move. Archie Bear, did you see the article on Jerry Conaway and what should happen to the comics industry? No, I did not. No, I did not. Karen and Darren, I like that. You guys, this morning, when I got up, I was looking through my DMs and messages, and apparently Rob Liefeld has a podcast called Robservations, and I haven't seen this yet, so I don't know anything about it. I just know based on what you guys have told me. And you said that Rob Liefeld had mentioned the Hawk and Dove, like how he got the job, and like basically the story of how he got, you know, the Hawk and Dove job. And so he mentioned me in the origin, or in the story. And so you guys were like, well, why don't you tell the story? So like I said, I don't know really what Rob said, other than that he connected me to him getting the job. So I thought I would tell it from my point of view, and you guys were like, you know, tell us the story, you know, Grandpa T-Bear. So that's what I'm going to do. And it is an interesting story, but it's not a long story. So the thing is, when I moved to Orange County, I met a lot of Orange County comic book artists. So there was Brian Murray, there was Jim Valentino, and there was Rob Liefeld. And those three guys, I believe, were already friends. And so when I moved, I was already friends with Brian Murray. So I moved from like LA County into Orange County. And so he introduced me to those guys. And so Jim Valentino needed an assistant / inker. So I started working with Jim. And so around that same time, I met Rob Liefeld. And so Rob is younger than we are. I mean, there's kind of a generational thing. So I think Valentino is at least 10 years older than I am. I think Brian Murray is older than I am. So I'm kind of in the middle. I guess Brian and I are in the middle as far as age. And then Rob is the youngest. And I think when I met Rob, he was maybe, oh my gosh, I want to say 17. So he was just, he was either in school or just graduating school. So it was somewhere around there. But he was really young. He might have been 18. You know what? Let me think. Because I don't know what kind of difference there is in our age. There's probably 5 or 6 years. So 25 years younger. Yeah, it might have been about that. So he might have been anywhere between like 17 and 19, somewhere in there. But I thought he was still in school. If he wasn't, then it seemed like he still had the high school vibe. You know how you still have that, even though you've graduated, you still kind of have that kind of mentality. So he was still living with his folks, and I think they had a condo or an apartment. And there was a pool, and I love swimming. I love water, so I'd go over and we would just hang out in the pool and talk comic books, and we would draw. But we mostly drew out of my apartment. So I had an apartment in Huntington Beach. So I think Rob, he must have been, because there were years that I knew him before we broke in the business. Because I was working with Jim Valentino, but I wasn't working at DC or Marvel at the time. So I was still like not mainstream, and still kind of a glorified assistant working with Valentino, even though we were working, later we were working on the Myth Adventures book, and I was fully credited as inker. So I was, a working professional at that point. And so I do remember Rob in the early days. He already had Youngblood, and I met Hank Knautz, who is at DC now. I think, sadly, he might have been one of the guys that were let go. But that guy knows his shit, man. I don't know why you would ever let that guy go. He probably makes a pretty good wage now. So maybe it was about money, but I don't know. Who's Uncle Jerk? Uncle Jerk did a great analysis of a Hawk and Dove story. I gotta check that out. But anyway, like I'm giving you a little bit more backstory because the story really isn't that long. So Rob is 52. So if Rob is 52, then 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. So there's like 6 years difference. So yeah, he could have been in high school. He could have been just kind of either, like I said, either in that like senior year or something like that. But yeah, so we're hanging out. I remember this one story, like, because we were talking about perspective, and he was trying to get like a handle on perspective. And not that I was an expert at it at the time. I think I got a pretty good handle on it now, but then it was still kind of a new thing for me as well. And we were talking about eye levels and vanishing points and everything. So we were in the pool. I still remember this conversation. I said, look straight across from the pool. So we were in the pool, standing up, in the shallow end, and there was a building like the apartment complex. And I said, just look straight across with your eye and fixate on wherever it is, like level with your eye. And so he did. I said, that's your eye level. And I said, that's like where the camera's at. So wherever the camera's at, that's your eye level. And I said, so it could be up higher or lower. But if you just look straight across, that's where it's at. And then I said, wherever your eye is, you can put the vanishing point on that eye level and then build it out from there. But if you're looking straight across at whatever it is, and your eye is fixated right on that one point, then all the vanishing lines will come off of that point. And so I was telling him that, and we had a great conversation. And I don't know, sometimes it's fun just to talk to other artists, especially when you're breaking in and you get to share your knowledge with them. And it's like, yeah, okay. And so, we started kind of trying to learn perspective after that. And I do remember he used to come by the apartment. I lived in Huntington Beach on Main and 5th. So I lived like walking distance from the beach, right at the pier. And so he used to like coming to the apartment. And I don't blame him because, when you live at home, you kind of, when you get a certain age, you want to, exercise your independence. And so he'd come over and we would just draw. So I had my drawing board. I think he had a lap board, and we would just draw. And he was working on Youngblood. So that's why I brought up Hank Canals, because I think they were working on it together, and they were both kids. And so I do remember Rob showing me he got Jerry Ordway to ink like a wraparound like ad for Youngblood, and I think it had all the characters standing, very formally on this double page, and it might have had like little inserts, like their headshots, but Jerry inked it, and oh my gosh, I remember I was like, holy crap, this is really, really good. Rob was pretty good right off the bat, man. He had a style, and he already had a direction. Like, I was kind of that guy, like, I just want to study, I just want to learn, but I wasn't really about like getting a system, formulating a way of doing work, and then just kind of doing it the same way every time, like formulaic kind of work. I was still kind of like an open book, so I was just trying to learn as much different things as I could. So I was still going to school during all of that. So I was studying illustration and taking life drawing classes and things like that. So I do remember Rob Liefeld and I, and Jim Valentino too, over at Fullerton College, we took a life drawing course together. It was hilarious. We had this guy, this teacher, and I know this is all over the place, but I'm trying to kind of like just give you an image of what life was like then, before the Hawk and Dove and before Marvel and DC. So this was kind of our life, and so we were just artists trying to learn the craft. But he was already more like, I want to do comic books. So I wasn't like 100% comics. I still wanted to do illustration, things like that. And I was working as an illustrator during those periods as well. So so then that period of time. So we took this class, this life drawing class. I remember the teacher. I think he was gay. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I just remember him like, he's like, there's certain pins that you shouldn't use because they're very, very toxic. He goes, I like these pins. And then he popped off the lid and he goes, they're scented. This one's strawberry. And then he went around and had everybody sniff his pin. And I thought it was really funny. It was odd and it was funny. So he was a teacher. He was really good. He had one of those like white tunic things on, so you could put it over your. Those were like the artists. They wore these things, so if they got ink or pencil or whatever on their tunic, it was okay. It wouldn't get on their clothes. So, and he was a sharp dresser. Let me just say that. So we took the class, and I remember it was so funny because when you're in drawing, like life drawing, it's like the teacher's always like, draw what you see. Draw what you see, not what you think you see. So there were the three of us, and we each. It's amazing how you can have the same subject matter and you can get three completely different conclusions. You know, the art styles can be completely different. And so Jim Valentino, when he looked at the model, it looked like Jim Valentino's drawing, but from a live model. I'm not kidding. It looked a lot like Normal Man or his Guardians or Shadowhawk. It looked like that. There wasn't the comic book rendering, but it was structured kind of like the way he draws. And so then Rob Liefeld did the same thing. Like they looked like Rob Liefeld drawings based on this pose. And so I drew more realistic, so it looked more like the person posing, but it was heightened. So I remember the teacher coming over and, you know, they give you critiques and they're like, Jim was like, you know, he goes over to Jim, he goes, draw what you see, not what you think you see. And so then Jim's like, okay. And then to Rob, it was kind of the same thing. It's like, it was very stylized, you know, but draw what you see, not what you think you see. So really observe the model, and that's what we're here for. And then he came over to me and he was like, it looks kind of like the model, but it looks like the model if they were perfect, like Hollywood, like it was like a glamorized version of the model. So he's like, you draw heightened, you know, versions of the people, but they look like the people. They're just like perfect versions of the people. So anyway, Jim Valentino, I don't think, just if I could be blunt, I don't think his ego could handle being critiqued. Like I said, too, he was already established. He was making a living doing comics. Rob and I were still like rookies. So I think his ego got a little bit bent out of shape. And so I don't think he really wanted the input from the teacher. So he dropped out. And so then shortly after, Rob dropped out and I stayed with it. And the thing is, I don't know, man. I think I just have a slow burn. But even when I was working professionally, I took life drawing classes at night. So I got like 7 years of life drawing. So even when I was professional, I took night courses two nights a week. So whenever I could fit it in my schedule, I did. Strangely, you'd think I'd be a lot better than I am, but I guess it helped because I just felt like that's what I needed to do. So yeah, so that's stuff that we were doing. We would hang out, like Jim Valentino had a studio in Santa Ana, I think, and it was a pretty killer studio, and so all of us would hang out there from time to time. There was still only like one drawing board, so we all kind of sat on the ground and drew with our lap boards. And Jim liked to smoke the herb, so I don't think Rob smoked, but Brian and I did. So we would go to the rooftop and we would kind of partake in the herb, and then we would come down. And I don't know, it was just kind of, it was good times. It was learning. It was frustrating because all of us were trying to like get our craft up. I mean, Jim, like I said, Jim was already established, and I think Brian Murray was working for Continuity, the Neil Adams company. I think he was doing that Megalith or Megaliath or whatever that character was named. He was doing that comic book. But I'll tell you, I saw the pages he turned in. What's his name? Neil Adams. He just completely just drew over that guy's work. I was even like, why are you even hiring this guy? You're not even using most of what he's putting down. So I always thought it was weird, but Brian was pretty good. Like I think Neil Adams just had a way of doing things and wanted it his way. But I don't know what he got out of that, paying Brian to do those pencils, and then just completely, not even like just reworking what was there, like just the panel wouldn't even be the same. Like he'd just redraw the entire panel. So it was really interesting. So I got to see that. I got to see, Brian's thumbnails. I got to see like kind of what Neil did over his work. And so I was just excited just to be able to hang out with guys that were on that level. So I was pretty fortunate to meet those guys. And I got hooked up with Brian through a teacher over at Real Hondo. It's in Whittier, California. And I guess Brian was taking classes over there too. So the teacher saw that, I drew heightened, so I drew kind of like perfect people, I guess. And so he said, this kind of reminds me of comic book art. And I said, I like comic books. And he said, well, I know a comic book artist named Brian Murray. So he actually got me in touch with Brian. So, like you guys, school's pretty cool. Like you can kind of network, and if you have a good relationship with your teacher, things can happen. And so he actually got me in touch with Brian. And so then Brian turned me on to Jim Valentino, and then Rob Liefeld. But that was kind of the Orange County connection. That was like there were very few people that worked in comic books that lived in California. It was very, very rare. So later, I hooked up with Mark Silvestri when I moved to the South Bay. That's at LA beach area, and he lived in Manhattan. No, what was it? It was I forget what beach it was. Malibu, maybe. Yeah, it was Malibu. And so it's just like a community or two over. And so we hung out when I moved there, and then hanging out with Jim Lee and Will Spartaccio and Scott Williams. But that was kind of the extent of like the Orange County, kind of SoCal connection. And I do remember Jim Valentino did storyboards too. So a lot of comic book artists that did live here were like part-time comic book artists. And I can't remember any of their names right now, but they lived more LA. So they were more LA, and they were really more like animation guys that because animation used to be seasonal. So when animation would shut down, those guys would do comic books. So they would pick up some comic book work, and then they would work through the summer, and then they would come back in the fall and work on the next season of whatever TV show they were on. So that's kind of how that worked. So that's kind of how like comic book artists made it in Southern California. And New York is where all the publishing, Marvel and DC, like the big publishers were. So we were barely blips on the radar as far as those guys were concerned. So they hired just mainly people that lived in that area. So you really had to kind of knock down doors if you lived here to get work there. So I'm going to read Son of Platypus says, met Neil Adams, came off very arrogant at times, mean-spirited. He seemed to insult several comic artists that are more stylized and call them amateur and lazy. Yeah. But sometimes like certain things I'll overlook if you're really, really good or influential. Like if you suck and you're arrogant, I'm kind of like, you're just a jerk, But if you really have a resume and you've done great things, I'm almost like, it feels earned. You know what I mean? In a strange way, it feels like they earned it. So when they're arrogant, I kind of don't mind, and I still listen, because Neil Adams told me, I had some friends that worked at Continuity in New York City, and I remember going in there and I asked Neil, I said, I've done work for you. He goes, I don't remember. But I did when I was in New York. And a friend of mine, I want to get him on the show. His name's Paul Power, or Paul Powers. And hold on for a sec. I was going to take a decongestant, but I did not, so I'm a little congested. So I was there, and I was talking to Neil about continuity and doing work, and I remember we had like a conversation. You talk about stylized and things like that, and he told me, he said, your style isn't what you do right, it's what you do wrong. And I never heard that before. So what defines you as an artist is kind of like what you do wrong. So that becomes your style. And so I started thinking about that. And I was like, yeah, I guess if everybody draws it the textbook way, like let's just say this is the right way of drawing, and everybody nailed it, then everything would look the same. So style on some level, I mean, some of it's conscious, some of it you're like trying to create a style, but you know, I guess part of it could be the things that you don't do right, the things that you do wrong. So there was a lot of advice, I remember, when I talked to Neil and stuff like that. So I think good ideas and good advice can come from anybody. So I take it with a grain of salt. Leg Kick says, my aunt and uncle live in Whittier for a lot of years. I liked living there. I lived there for about 1.5 years. So Blue Samurai Zero says, Art, Uncanny X-Men 281 is right when you got into X-Men. If it rolls up and if you're getting rid of it, I'm open, man. It's oh, I'm sorry. It's on like foam core. So I think it's Velcroed on the foam core. Actually, no. This side right here is glued to the foam core. There is a back side, and that's the Velcroed side. So there might be a side I could roll up. So it would be really expensive to ship it because it's big. But maybe I'll figure out something. I kind of want to bring it with me because it just means a lot to me. But I'm not sure it'll make the transit because, you know, it's big and it's very, you know, it's just foam. It's really weak material. So unless the movers were really, really good and really careful, I could see that thing just getting jacked up. So I don't know. I haven't got to that point yet. I also have like my Batman cowl and my Catwoman cowl, and I don't know if those things will make the transit either. So I'm thinking I'm gonna have to. I might call like one of those like museums, like Hollywood museums or something like that, and see if they would just take it. Like I'm thinking I won't even sell it. I'll just kind of donate it to them, or even maybe the Warner Brothers archives, and see if they would want it. But yeah, I'm going off on a tangent here. So yeah. So then so there was a lot of exploration, you know, in those days. You know, Rob Liefeld, Jim Valentino, and Brian Murray. So then what happened is, for me, the gravy train with Jim Valentino was running out. So we were working independent. We were working for Apple Comics, which is it was Myth Adventures, and that's the Wendy and Richard Pinney company, the ElfQuest people. And we weren't getting paid our back end. So there were like 3 or 4 issues that we never got paid for. So they owe me like $3,200. I still remember it. Like, I think it was $800 off the back end. So there were 4 issues. So it was like $3,200 that they owed me. And when you're working and living hand to mouth, that means a lot. Like $800, you know, not to have for a month is a big deal. So I had to start auction. Maybe we could. Why donate when you can sell? I don't know if anybody would want to buy them because they're really brittle. Those cows are really brittle, if that's what you guys are talking about. So Edwin's in the house. Hey, what's up? And yeah, if you guys could tweet this out too and give it a thumbs up. My YouTube numbers are like, I don't know, they get into these algorithms and they start like dropping off. So make sure you guys are subscribed, and if you could give it a thumbs up and tweet out, I would greatly appreciate it. So yeah, so the money was drying up, the opportunities weren't there, and Jim Valentino was going more towards animation. So he was making more of his money doing animation than he was in comics. So it's kind of like we were parting ways, and so I was like, maybe I should put a portfolio together for Marvel DC. And so about that time, I think, let me try to get this right. No. I was still at the Huntington Beach apartment. So I was like, I'm gonna start doing Marvel DC characters, and I was still hanging out with those guys. But there was a problem. I think Jim started getting a little angry about I think Rob and I, because we started getting good. So you know, you have this mentor guy, and then you have the younger guys that are kind of starting to come into their own. And I think he was having a little bit of a hard time with it. And so I'm just being totally honest. Like there was a little bit of tension, and I think he got along better with Rob. And also I think they lived closer to each other and than I did. So I remember Jim and I kind of had a blowout, and it was over, what were they called? Like Ninja Mutant or Mutant Ninjas? It was like an indie book, and it was called Ninja Mutants or Mutant Ninjas. And I don't really remember the title, but he had a cover assignment, and he asked if I'd ink it. And we hadn't worked with each other. Like all that stuff, the Myth Adventure stuff was in the past. And so I said, sure. So I went over to his house and I picked up the cover and I inked it. And so then at this point, I was kind of more of my own person. You know, I wasn't relying on him, and I was, you know, started going in my own direction. And so then I called him. I said, the cover's done. And I said, could you come pick it up? And then he said, no. And then I was like, what do you mean? He goes, you work for me. He said, you bring it to me. And I said, I thought I was just the inker on it. I didn't know like I was working for you. He said, yeah, you work for me. I'm paying you, so you'll bring it to me. And so then I was just kind of like, well, I picked it up. Since we're kind of more on even footing, like this just illustrates kind of like how I think he was seeing me, at least. I don't know if he was seeing Rob this way, but the way he was seeing me. And we're still friends. This is just like, these are just things that happen. So it's not good, it's not bad. It's just kind of things that happen. So I don't want to make it seem like it's sinister or it's horrible. So I drove the cover over to his house, and that was pretty much it. So I never worked with him after that. I think, actually, having said that, I believe when he got Marvel work, I did a cover. I inked a cover of Guardians of the Galaxy over him. But I remember he once told me we were together, and it was about that time that things were splitting up. And I remember I was getting work at DC. So I was starting to get work at DC while this was happening. That's right. So that's kind of where I think he was having a problem, because I started working at DC. So I was doing Star Trek, like Who's Who, and then they had like the DC Who's Who universe stuff. So I was doing artwork for those books. And then I think I had just got offered the Warlord from Bob Greenberger. at DC Comics. So I was going to do a run on that. I was following Dan Jurgens. Yeah, I was following Dan Jurgens on Warlord. So that must have been the entry level book for most people at DC, because I followed Dan, and his stuff was really good, man. And then I think one of the Kuberts or both of the Kubert brothers followed me on Warlord after that. So I think that was kind of DC's entry level book to break in new talent. And so so I remember, I think maybe it was when I brought that Mutant Ninja cover over to Jim's house, and Jim was like, he just kind of blew up at me. He goes, I want to know, how come you're getting all this work? How come you're getting all this work and I'm not? He goes, I send out portfolios, I do all this stuff. And then he said, I want you to put in the good word for me at DC. And I was like, I'm just starting. How would I put in the good word for you? I don't have a footing in this company yet. So I wasn't being a smart ass. I was just trying to be like practical. I was like, I'll do it, but nothing's going to come of it, because who am I? I'm nobody. I'm an entry level guy. I was thrown in the deep end, and I'm dog paddling. So then he goes, well, why are you getting the work and I'm not? So I do remember it was like, there was like some tension, some crazy tension there. So, nothing came of it. He never got work at DC. And then Rob started getting work at DC. And so I'm doing Warlord. I'll get to the Hawk and Dove stuff, trust me. But like I said, the Hawk and Dove, it's really quick. So there's no real story there. So I thought I'd give you like kind of like, this is how things were at the time and what was going on at the time. So I'm giving you some kind of context to what our lives were like before, Hawk and Dove happened and before Time Masters happened for me and things like that. So I'm doing Warlord, doing the book, and I'm penciling it. I think Pablo Marcos was inking me, and I do remember, I was like, from my youth, I was like, Conan and all these books. I was like, this is amazing. Then I found out that it didn't look that good. So then I started asking around, and then they said, Pablo has a daughter or some kind of family member that works with him. So he takes on a bunch of work, and then he kind of subcontracts it. So I don't think I was getting the Pablo Marcos love. But to be honest, I don't know how good the pencils were at the time. So I'm not sure I deserved anything better, to be honest. But so I'm working on that, and then Rob Liefeld was sending in samples, to DC, and I'm not sure Marvel, but I know DC, and so DC was pretty good at like giving new talent a shot. And then later, I remember Bob Harris kind of saying that DC was the training ground. Like, they would break in new talent, they would nurture the talent, and then Marvel would just steal the talent. And based on what happened with Rob and I, it kind of is true. But anyway, I still do appreciate DC for taking a chance with me, and for Bob Greenberger specifically for taking a chance with an unknown talent like myself. So there was this thing called the bonus books, and DC was using this as a way to like give new talent a tryout. I don't think it was called tryout. I think it was called bonus book. So so Rob got one of these bonus books. I think there were 8 pages, and they were inserted in just your regular comic. So you got 8 pages of free book, like free story, in each one of these issues for that month or however long it went. And I believe they were called bonus books, and it was on the cover, it said bonus book. I don't think it said by the artist, but it said bonus book or bonus material. And so what it was is it would be like 8 pages of new talent doing a story. Like in this case, Rob actually did a Warlord story. It would be great if it was a Warlord story in the book, one of the books that I did, but I don't think it was. I think I had already moved on from my Warlord requirements. I did 3 issues. And so it must have been during the Kubert's run or whatever. It'd be fun to get Rob on and just talk about this, because I know he can fill these gaps. And so he would come over to the apartment in Huntington Beach, and he was funny because he'd go, let me see the pages. Let me see the pages. So I had copies of all the pages. So he was kind of using stuff that I did as a style guide. So he wasn't really going back in all of the Warlord continuity. He was kind of using my pages. So I remember there's some backgrounds and some flag banners and stuff that I created, and that he just, he did like kind of a tribute to, and he put those in the background. And there were some background elements and stuff, and I thought it was really cool. I thought it was a lot of fun, So I kind of, not that I mentored him, but it was kind of like I was starting to get into that role of like, I'm already established in that, now we're working together. And so there was a lot of back and forth. There was a lot of shared knowledge. And let me think. No, it was later. There's part, I'm trying to do this in some kind of chronological order, and it's tough. I don't have an overview. I don't have this written out. And so so he turned in his book. It was printed, and then about that time, I was moving from Warlord to my next assignment, which was I believe it was Time Masters. So Time Masters also is in World of Tomorrow, whatever that WB show is. They used elements of that mini series or maxi series I did. They used elements of that for that TV show, and I got a pretty good royalty check out of it. It was pretty cool because there's some aspects of it that I created that were in the show that they used for the show. So that was pretty cool, and DC's real good with that. So I believe I was starting work on that. And so as I was doing that, I got offered, it was either just before, wait a minute, it might have been before that. It's weird because it's all kind of happened at the same time, like it all kind of blurs. But there was a Teen Titans Spotlight that I did. It was Aqualad, and then Aquaman was in it. I had a blast doing it. It was a lot of fun. And so I got to pencil and ink it as well. And I did it in a month, like a new guy pencil and inking his own book. And I think that was before Time Masters, actually, now that I think about it. And the editor on that was Barbara Randall. She's now Barbara Kiesel. Maybe she went back to Barbara Randall, but she married Carl Kiesel. So now we're starting to get into the Hawk and Dove stuff. Okay, so Barbara Randall, an editor at DC Comics, and she was editor on the Teen Titans book. So she was pretty kick-ass editor. She had some good books there. And so I did that one story, and she was really impressed with the artwork and that I got it done on time. So Bob Greenberger, then I'm not sure I think I was already working on Time Masters, or I was just about to start. Yeah, Rip Hunter. I wish I created Rip Hunter, but I did not. We used the character. But a lot of the elements in the story and just the name Time Masters came out of that series. So that's what they used for the TV show. Some of the ideas, there's like this Illuminati group, and they kind of used those ideas in the TV series. And then Vandal Savage as the villain and stuff like that. So some of that stuff came out of that series. I don't think they used it in a direct way. It was kind of like they just used that to inspire these other ideas. But DC and Warner Brothers, to their credit, they still gave me royalties. I think they probably could have wiggled out of it because they weren't directly used. You couldn't really, they were just kind of little nuggets of ideas that they took and ran with. Oh, very cool. Thank you so much, Nova Blast. Rob did bonus book 6 for anyone interested in Warlord. Yes. Very, very cool. So
So like I said, I don't really know where I was at with Time Masters, if I had just started or I was an issue into it or what, but I couldn't have been too far into it if starting at all. So then Barbara Randall at the time, who became Barbara Kiesel, asked me, she said, I'm doing a miniseries, I'm starting it up, I'm going to write it with Carl. And it's going to be a Hawk and Dove miniseries. And she said, I want you to pencil it. I want you to pencil it, and then Carl will ink you. And so Carl was he was my ink god. Like, some people like Terry Austin. I think Terry Austin had a moment in time. But I think Carl kind of inked in a similar style. But I think Carl actually had more versatility. And I think he had a longer run. For me, like he was a little bit more prolific in that inspiration, in as far as inspiring me. I'm not taking anything away from Terry Austin, and the only reason I compare them is because they kind of seem like they're a little bit out of the same school. But I think Carl was a little bit more, had more variety. He could actually mix it up a little bit more than Terry could. But anyway, so a chance to work with Carl would have been amazing. And so I remember telling her, I already said I was going to do this Time Masters book. And so then she said, well, we really want you on the book. She said, but if you already have prior obligations, no problem. So we were talking. I love talking to her. She was a great person. And once again, there are no strong females in comic books. There's no female voice in comic books. Whoever perpetuates this narrative are full of shit, pardon my French, because I've worked with a lot of great editors. The person that ran DC was female. It ran Vertigo, Karen Berger, was female. Like, it just wasn't the case, you guys. And Barbara was a great writer too. She wrote comic books as well. And so I had to decline. But like I said, I had a pretty good relationship with her. So we were just talking, and like one thing led to another. And so I mentioned Rob Liefeld. And then she said, like, I don't really know who that is. And so I said, well, I'll talk to him and I'll see if he would be up for it, and maybe he could send stuff to you. So I don't know what happened between her and Rob. Like, I don't know how it moved forward from there, but it obviously worked out, because whatever Rob showed them, and Rob was enthusiastic. I mean, Rob is still like crazy enthusiastic about comics. Like, he loves this art form beyond most people that I've ever met in, doing this for a living. And so I know that he was really enthusiastic about Hawk and Dove. Like he was so, like, not just like it's a drawing assignment, like story, character design, creating this world, all of this stuff. Like, he was really invested. And so, I remember him doing all kinds of different costume designs and things like that. Like, he was really excited. So one thing led to another. He gets the assignment, and he's working on Hawk and Dove. And history is made, right? Like, the door was open. I had a little part of it, but I mean, he just excelled and then just skyrocketed from there. And so now that I put that all out there, like, some of the conversations Rob and I used to have would be like, I remember like going to school and still trying to, like, I was kind of like going back and forth with styles and how should I draw and what should my approach be and all these different things. And then he's just like, style, just formulate and create a style, and then just do it the same way every time and get faster and faster. And then he would like, the only way you're going to make money in this business, Art, is volume, because there were no royalties. These books didn't sell at all. So you guys, as far as like comic books going up and down, when Rob and I got in the business, there was no money. There was no money in it. I would get royalties on Adventures of Superman for like $70, $170. It started going up as we started getting better and started, people started coming to what we were doing. all the way up to the death of Superman and the engagement and the wedding of Clark and Lois. But it didn't start that way. I mean, it was really, really bad as far as sales and royalties. So there was just no numbers, and there was no money. And I remember him telling me that, and then, I was like, I want to, but there's part of me that just wanted to keep exploring different aspects of drawing and things like that. So I think I just didn't want to get pinned down too much on one thing. And he would keep talking, and then I was like, where are you getting this from? And so at the time, he was starting up his relationship with Todd McFarlane. So he's like, I'm hanging out with Todd McFarlane, this guy named Todd McFarlane, and he's telling me, like, you got to work fast, you got to have a system, you got to stylize and just bang it out, get it done as fast as you can. And so then I was like, holy shit. At the time, I thought it was kind of bad advice, because I was thinking, learn to draw. Like, these are the years where we really have to, crack open the books and learn the craft. But Rob really wanted to formulate, and just storytell. And once again, like, I don't want to seem like I'm casting shade, because everybody has their own path. It's not right or wrong or good or bad. It just is. I mean, it worked out for both of us, so it was his approach. But I always remember him saying, like, formulate and then get things done quickly. And he's right. If you were going to make a living at the time, that's how you had to do it. But I do remember there was a part of me that fought it, that was like, no, I think I want to kind of draw and keep open to try to figure out how to do things. And I'm not saying that one's better or one's worse. It's just different. It was just a different approach. And so he did Hawk and Dove. And I remember, this was so funny. He was like, he was kind of like he had some issues with Carl on the inks. And I was kind of like, I don't see it. But he was like, some of the faces, and artists with inking, they all are very, very particular about faces. All of them. I've never really met an exception to it. They're all, like, really particular. And so then he's like, could you ink this face? So like I said, we're just kind of working back and forth in apartment 3 in Huntington Beach. So he's working on pencils. I'm doing, Time Masters. And so I did. I inked one of the faces. He goes, this is great. This is great. And I remember at the time he said, it still hurts. He goes, I think you're a better inker than you are a penciler. I still remember it. And I was like, okay, like, you just store that stuff away. And so then he goes, could you ink? I don't know if it was the whole page or if it's just the whole panel. So I did what he asked me to. And then I don't know whatever came of that. Like, I don't know if he brought that up and wanted me to ink the book. I'm not really sure what was going on there, or if it was just like he wanted just a curiosity to see, what it would look like to have somebody else ink the stuff. But I kind of inked it like Carl was. I didn't really ink it in any other way. I inked it in, like, the way Carl was, inking Rob at the time. So that's kind of that part of the story. There is like an addendum, or there's a little extra part there, and I did a lot of, this is why it all blurs together, because during that Time Masters run, I was offered that Hawk and Dove job, but I was also starting on Adventures of Superman. So during Time Masters, I think I did finishes on Dan Jurgens on 2 issues. I did finishes during that Time Masters run. And so then I was working in the Superman office now with Mike Carlin, and I think Mike Carlin was Rob's editor. Okay, all right, it's all coming back to me now. Okay, so let's go back a little bit from the Superman stuff. So now I'm established. I'm working with Mike Carlin on Superman, and then Rob's editor was Mike Carlin on Hawk and Dove. So the Kiesels were doing the writing on Hawk and Dove, but they weren't editing. So that was Mike Carlin. So I'm remembering that now. So then I remember that Rob did part of the story. I think they go into the Chaos realm or something like that in Hawk and Dove. So I think they were agents of order and chaos, like the two characters. So they go into this chaos realm. I remember Rob telling me, like, Eric, oh my gosh, the Savage Dragon guy, I forget his last name now. Wow, I'm really bad. And before you guys start making old jokes, I've never been good at recalling people's names. So Larson. So Eric Larson had done something in, I forget what book he was working on, but he went into the Chaos realm in his story, and he turned all the pages sideways. So instead of going this way, you know, they were going this way. So it was kind of opening up this way. So kind of like a centerfold or like a calendar. And so the book opened this way when you go into the Chaos realm. And so I remember him having, Rob has strong ideas, and I think Rob has great ideas. But if you get somebody like that with somebody that feels like they have strong ideas and they have kind of the final say, you can get into trouble. So Mike Carlin is a very strong personality, very opinionated, just like Rob. So I think they got into stylistic problems, and I was there. And I want to say one thing. I'm gonna sum this up. Mike, if you're listening, you were wrong. Rob was right. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. Okay, so this is the story. Okay, so Rob did all the panels this way, like horizontal versus vertical, and so and it had been established by Eric Larson earlier. So Rob kind of thought that he was just kind of tapping into maybe continuity. And it was very stylized and different. So it was interesting. So one of the things about all of us image guys that all of us had in common is we were into pushing the envelope. Stylistically, let's see what comics can do. So those seeds were planted early on. And so Rob and Bob and Mike, I mean, they kind of went head to head. And so I remember Rob faxed the stuff to Mike, but Mike was out on vacation, or there was something that there was a delay. There was a delay in the response from Mike. So in comic books, well, old comics, now everything's a snail's pace, but then you needed decisions, you needed to move fast. There was no effing around, right? So I think Rob ran this by the Kiesels, if I remember the story right. And the Kiesels signed off on it because I was there. I only got the story at this time from Rob. I didn't get it from the Kiesels, and I didn't get it from Mike. I got part of the story, or the story later, from Mike. But at this point, I'm just getting it from Rob. And Rob went through the channels. He went through the writers. The writers signed off on it. So then he took that time to do this series of pages with this different layout. So he did send it to Mike. He didn't get an okay from Mike, but he did run it by the Kiesels, and they gave a thumbs up. So then Mike comes back and had a hissy fit. He wasn't happy with it. He was like, "Why did you do this? This doesn't fit. You know, what's going on? I didn't okay this. You know, stuff like that." So Rob, you know, Rob's just a kid. This is like his first big assignment. He goes, I ran it by the Kiesels. He goes, well, they're not your boss, blah, blah, blah. So, you know, he basically gave Rob the riot act. And I remember Rob was really distraught. Like, he did not take it easy. But the thing is, Rob's also a fighter. So, you know, Rob said his piece. And so then what Mike Carlin did, and this is an interesting case study in personalities, is Mike was so bent on it not being this way. He painstakingly statted, because at the time, statted is just a high-res copy of whatever it is. So he statted every one of the panels, and he made them horizontal. So he changed the entire layout from horizontal to vertical, changing the shapes of panels and all. I mean, it must have taken hours. It must have been like painstaking. It couldn't have been easy. And I think Mike did it himself. So he changed all the layouts. So the printed version, I believe, never was horizontal. It was Mike's rework of the layout, the page layout. And I still remember, like, was it that big of a deal? Like, I didn't think it was that big a deal. And I was still kind of a comic book fan. And I just remember, like, man, wouldn't that, because I was like with Rob, like, you're reading, and then you turn it, and then it goes this way. And I think that Mike is a little like, Mike Carlin was a little Jim Shooter-ish, because I think he came under that kind of tutelage. And I do remember having conversations with Jim Shooter, and Jim was like, you never break the border panel, you don't use Zipatone. Like, he had like set rules of how to tell a story, for right or wrong. But I do remember having a conversation with Jim Shooter, and he was like, I don't like this art. Don't break the border panels. I don't want you breaking the border panels, so redo it. Make sure everything stays within the panels. And I said, why? I said, other people do it. And he said, when you go to a movie, he said, things don't break out of the screen. He said, they all stay contained within the screen. And then I remember this is where like the image mindset came from. I remember telling him, I said, if Hollywood could have something break out of the screen, you don't think they'd do it? I said, they do it in a heartbeat. I said, they have 3D. I said, if they could actually have a figure jump out of the screen and make it convincing, I said, they'd do it. I said, we don't have that limitation. We don't have to stay within the screen. We could have it break out of the border panel. And he's like, do it my way. And so there was no Zipatone. There was no whatever. I ended up bringing Zipatone into the work. I didn't really listen to what he said because I thought he was wrong, but I placated him at the time. And so that's kind of like the Mike Carlin mindset. I think, I'm not really sure. So I'm kind of like armchair, psychoanalyzing the guy, but I think that's kind of where it came from. Like, there was a way of doing comic books and you just really didn't veer from it. But there was obviously a new generation of people coming up. There was the Jim Lees, there was the Todd McFarlanes, there was the Rob Liefelds, there was me, there was Mark Silvestri. Mark Silvestri was one of those, he was already kind of old guard because he's an older guy. So he was already established, but that guy reinvented himself in an amazing way, where he was adapting like what became the West Coast style, which is what Jim, Will, Scott, and myself were doing. We were working in that style. So he was kind of adapting those ideas along with like Mike Mignola's like really heavy contrast, blacks and like darks and lights kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, that guy, you talk about like an amazing talent that almost on the fly just saw the writing on the wall and just adapted, at a heartbeat. And I remember having conversations with Mark in the day, and he wanted me to ink him. He had Dan Green inking him, and I remember telling him, I was like, Dan Green is awesome. Like, this stuff looks really cool, but he really wanted that stylized look. So Dan was still a little like brush. It was brush, and it was no, it wasn't Dan Green. Maybe it was Hillary Barta. Maybe it was Hillary Barta at the time. But I don't think he liked either one of those guys, to be honest. I thought Dan Green was pretty good, but it definitely wasn't the slick kind of West Coast thing that we were doing. And I still think it would have been an amazing thing, because I was supposed to ink Cyberforce at the time. So that would have been cool, but it never happened. So then anyway, back to the Mike Carlin, Hawk and Dove. I always say tangents are the best thing. So when you're going on a tangent, just write it out, and as long as you can bring it back to the story, it's always good. So so this is, I'm in New York City now, and oh man, the funny thing is, Hank Knauts was there too. He wasn't. It was just a weird coincidence. So Hank is like, this story's all coming full circle. Like, Hank was Rob's, early childhood friend, and I believe that Hank and Rob co-created Youngblood together, and that Hank was one of the early Image founders. Like, if you look at the early pictures, Hank's in those pictures. So Hank worked at Extreme Studios, and from what I remember, Hank told me he created the Image Eye. So that graphic of the Image Eye, that was done by Hank. So anyway, I get called into Mike Carlin's office, and as I'm in the DC offices. So as I'm walking down the hall, I see Hank coming out of the office of Mike's office. So I was like, "Hey, Hank," and he just kind of like, oh, he like looked at me like, "You're in for some craziness." And so I was like, "Okay." So I said, we should hang out. We're in New York City. We should hang out after. And it's like, cool. So he waited for me. So I go into Mike's office. I was working on Superman at the time. So I don't remember talking too much about Superman. I remember Mike talking about Rob. And Rob had obviously gotten to Mike, like gotten under his skin. And the one thing that is about, I like about Mike is Mike, I always say I have a love-hate, but I have more of a love than hate with him. There's certain things about Mike that he gets, this is the way to do it. And he doesn't really waver from that. But later, if he did make a mistake, he'll make it up to you. He won't apologize, but he'll try to make it up to you. Or, he'll say, do it your way. You know what I mean? So I thought, for a guy that came out of that kind of school, he was still pretty open, but weirdly rigid at the beginning. Like, if there's something he has a knee-jerk reaction to, he's going to voice it, and he'll probably enforce it and make sure it happens, for right or wrong. So I'm in the office, and he starts talking about Rob, and then he talks about like these layouts. He's showing me his actual paste up of the pages, of the Hawk and Dove pages, and he gives me the backstory. I already knew, and he already knew I knew, because he knows that I knew Rob. And so then what else is coming clear is that he knew Hank knew Rob, so he was doing the same thing with Hank that he's doing to me now. So that's why Hank was like shaking, like, you're in for it. And so he's kind of asking me, without directly asking me, if he was wrong to do what he did. So I told him, like, from my point of view, and from kind of when I was hanging out with Rob, what the point of view was. And I said, I don't think Rob was trying to disrespect you. I think he was just trying to make good comic books. He went to the Kiesels, and he thought, since they signed off on it, that you would sign off on it as well. And from what I understand, he did send those layouts to you for approval. You were gone for some reason and didn't get back to him. So then he just moved forward and got the pages done. So it was just that, he didn't know that you were in opposition to it. I'm sure if he did know at the time, he might not have done it. He might have pushed for it, because Rob is a strong personality. But I think at the time he was respectful enough that he probably wouldn't have done it. But I said, I don't know for sure. And then he said, so do you think I was wrong? He asked me, like, flat out, he goes, do you think I was wrong? And I said, you're the caretaker of the book. I said, you get the final say. So I don't know what you mean by wrong. Like, were you wrong by making the decision? It was in your power to make the decision. It was in your description of what your job entails that you could do this. And I said, but personally and creatively, I don't understand why you did it. I said, I don't think it made that much of a difference. I said, if anything, it had a chance to have an impact going horizontal versus, because you've already seen stuff that way. You haven't seen things going the other way. I said you had an opportunity to maybe do something different, and maybe people would think it was cool. If you always do things in a formulaic pattern and you do things the same all the time, you don't have a chance for growth, and you don't have a chance for anybody to really be impressed by anything. So that was kind of like my discussion with Mike. And I'll tell you, it was really, really uncomfortable because I felt like I was in a rock and a hard place. Like, I didn't want to sell Rob out. And at the same time, this was my boss. Like, he was my Superman boss. Like, I didn't want to make it seem like, this guy was being unreasonable either. So it was really, there was a lot of tap dancing that was going on at the time. So let me see if there's anything else related to the Hawk and Dove thing. I believe that was it. And then, of course, it was history after that. I mean, Rob did have a style. He did have an approach that was fairly unique. You saw where the influences were, but I thought, like, the style was fresh. And also, I mean, he was basing it kind of on the Art Adams template. But at the time, like, Art Adams had just kind of started too. So that whole look was still fairly fresh. So, Rob was ahead of the curve, and he did contribute to it. And then later, as we were developing the West Coast look, all the crazy hatching that, Wills was a big instigator with that. And then Jim, and then Scott, and then myself. Rob started bringing that, into, that Art Adams kind of structured stuff. And then, of course, he used those influences and then created his own style out of it. I always say the Beatles did cover tunes before they figured out how to write, good songs on their own. So everybody starts by taking pieces from, other things. Hold on for a sec. Holy moly, man. My allergies are really kicking in. So you know what? I mean, it's just one of those things. Creative differences happen in the industry. I don't know if the book would have been better with it or not. But I think what happens is creative people get determined to, when these things happen, they get determined to be in a position where they don't have to compromise, where they can kind of tell stories and kind of try new things without limitations of a corporation putting restrictions on them. So one of the things is, like, my heart was always in independence. I started work in the independence. I always wanted to tell my own stories. So I really do like Comicsgate, and I like this environment that I'm in right now, because if I have an idea and you guys like it, and I can fund it, I can do it. You know what I mean? There's no limitations. There's no, like, middle management that gets in the way, or can potentially get in the way of, things happening. And I'm not going to say that middle management or editors are all bad, because they're not. Because sometimes, like, the good ones, and even Mike, had great suggestions down the line. But sometimes, you're forced to compromise an idea that you're really passionate about, and it becomes a problem. And I had that early on with Time Masters as well. And Time Masters was one of those pivotal moments in my life where penciling doesn't come easy for me. It takes me a little bit of time to figure things out and work through stuff, because there's so many variables. Like, I might come up with 3 different approaches to one panel layout, stuff like that. So it takes time for me. and then I got involved with writers that weren't writers and editors that were just like, get it done, Art, get it done. So I had a sketchbook like full of different ideas that we could do, different visuals, things like that I'd send to the editor, and then I would send to the writers, and they would be like, they just wanted the book done. You know what I mean? They didn't really care about pushing the envelope or making it better or more interesting. They kind of just wanted me to focus on getting the book done. And so, like I said, this was early on, and like even Rob was like, formulate your work, Art. I didn't want that. Like, I wanted to do the best work I could without compromise, period. It didn't matter what title I was working on. That's kind of like my mindset was there. And I still kind of have that. It's innate. So, you know, it got kind of pushed out of me. Like the idea is like, just get the work done, just get the work done. And I remember talking to Dick Giordano, and he gave me good advice about it because it was taking me some time to get the book done. And he said, my boy, he called me my boy. I'm sure he did that with other people too. Put his hand on my shoulder. My boy, he said, there are assignments you do for love, and there are assignments you do for money. He said, I run DC Comics, and it's okay to do things for money. So he gave me permission basically to just get the book done. So what he was trying to say is like, swallow your pride, get past what this could be, and just get the book done. Just get the book done, make your deadlines, and then there'll be work down the line that you can do for love. You know, you can put your heart and soul into it. And, you know, I was waiting for that moment all the way up to Image Comics when I got to do black and white. So that's how long, sometimes you have to wait for these opportunities. So I always remember like, well, this is it, Dick. This is the book I'm doing for love. But there was like, God, how many years, you know, maybe 10 years, you know, in between. I did do some penciling work in between, but I mostly did ink work because I could do it for the money. I still put a lot of love into it, but I was a lot faster, and I was a little bit more separated from the process. So it was a little less heart and soul for me. When you're storytelling, you're into character, you're into story, and I found it really hard to separate those things because I would get in love with the character or the situation. So like I said, I would try to figure out the best, you know, body gestures, the best body English, you know, all those things, the best staging, you know, all those ideas. And a lot of times, you know, like I said, it would take 2 or 3 different attempts at it. And I didn't know how to really abbreviate work at the time. So most of the time, the 2 or 3 different approaches were almost full pencils. So there was a lot of trial and error in the early days. Still is, but not quite as much. Oh, thank you so much, Michael. Hit that button. It helps the channel. Yes, thank you so very much. I think I saw Arthur Brown posting. Yeah, I think this is it. Yeah, Chronomechanics. Thank you so much. The Uncanny Kodiak. I do appreciate that. So yeah, so that's the Hawk and Dove story, and I'm not really sure what Rob did after that. If he did much of anything for DC after Hawk and Dove, because he went over to Marvel before I did. So he went over to Marvel. I don't know how many years before, but then I also moved from Orange County to the South Bay, and it was just a little bit harder to hang out. So I think in that time period, we kind of moved apart a little bit. So his early Marvel days, I don't really remember. I wasn't as close to him at the time. I do remember the early stuff, but not, you know, when he started really excelling. And then I do remember he asked me to ink. I inked some of his, was it New Mutants? And then, oh my gosh, what was the book that he launched after that? There was New Mutants, and then there was, oh my gosh, this is horrible. But he asked me to ink that one. That was the new numbering system. It was the new book, and that didn't happen. And I remember having a conversation with Jim Lee about that. And I go, I was supposed to ink Rob on this book. If anybody remembers the book Rob did and made history on, what the hell was it called? It wasn't New Mutants, was it? No, New Mutants was the book he left. X-Force. Thank you, Roland. Thank you so much. X-Force. Yeah, my brain is just, it's always been like this, you guys. Like I said, it's not because I'm old. But yeah, he asked me to ink that. I remember talking to Rob or Jim Lee, and I was like, it didn't happen. And I go, why? And then Jim said, he probably figured out what the royalties were on the inks and realized that he could kind of pencil and ink. It'd take him a little bit longer, but not that much longer to do. And so that's kind of what made it happen. So because he was, we were kind of, I think towards the end of this run on New Mutants, I think I was kind of like trying out to see. And I know Rob really liked the inks on New Mutants. Yeah, it just kind of went into, like, New Mutants went into X-Force, yeah. So yeah, so that's kind of, you know, all of that. And like I said, Rob made history after that for sure. And I still think, man, maybe I should have taken his and Todd McFarlane's advice and just formulate. Just get a look, bang it out, get it done, you know, and move forward. But I think I made a mark, probably more as an inker than a penciler. But hey, I'm still young and I still have stories to tell. So you never know. So I wanted to show you these things, you guys. These came out really, really awesome. And I don't talk about the Chrono stuff as much as I should, but these are the mini prints. These things came out so good. Look at the colors. We went with a local printer on these, and like I said, we're just kind of going through stuff, and I found these, you know, all of the, wait, there should be another one. Oh, there it is. So there's Doug, and then there's Zin. So this is part of the poker, poker, didn't even know her. So this is like all of our mini prints. So we have all those ready to go out. So just a quick update on the Chrono stuff. We should get the work in progress book by the end of this month. And then within, I think the first week of October, we should get the black and white Virgin variant. So that's the Capullo Virgin variant, and that was for the Second Chance campaign. So if you guys backed anything that has the Virgin variant on it, those are being printed up right now. And then we have the Chronomechanics retrofit book that we're going to get a week later. So by the second week, maybe earlier of October, we should have everything. And I apologize, you guys, if you've been listening to the show. We had a lot of missteps with the printer. They were Mixam. If anybody's thinking about using Mixam, don't. They're not a good company. They don't do good work, and they really misled us, and they wasted a lot of our time and your time. So I really appreciate your patience on this. I'm really hoping this printer works out, because I'd like to get a relationship with a printer that I don't have to worry about. Like, I don't have to reinvent the wheel every time I go to print. Somebody that understands the needs and how to do to get the work done, basically. So Rooster Puncher says, what happened to with Mixam? Well, I'll try to abbreviate it. Mixam, they came recommended. I thought they were a good company, At first, they seemed to kind of speak the language, and we were kind of in sync. And then we got the first proof, and the proof was it was all the composition of each one of the pages was off. So then we found out that they cropped everything wrong. So then we corrected that. They sent at their own cost another proof, but we also, as a footnote, we said the colors look off. So that first proof, the colors looked off, and the composition of all the pages was wrong. So then they sent another proof. The composition was right, but the colors were still off. So then I pushed the point with them, and I said, why are the colors off? They looked at the files, and this is on me. I guess the buck stops with me, but Jeff Eckelberry, the letterer, sent RGB files, and there was a little bit of miscommunication there. So he didn't send CMYK, he sent RGB. So they said the reason the color is off is because it's RGB. And then they said, also, it might be that there's going to be, they said there's going to be a color difference because what they're printing the proofs on is digital, and what the original, or what the final print run will be, is offset. So then, okay, it was just a little side note. They sent the next proofs, perfect. Everything was perfect. The interior colors were fine, composition was fine, everything was fine. So then, you know, we okay it, and with a footnote, the colors have to be like the proof. We're okay in this proof. And they said colors might be a little off because of the offset. Might be. They weren't like they're going to be off, they're going to be drastically different, nothing like that. It was like there's going to be a little bit of a margin of change. And so when I hear that, I think, yeah, that's fine. You know, I can live with that. So then we get 1,400 books back. We get the entire order back. They all suck. They're all horrible. They're printed dark. They're crazy saturation. Even some of the coloring is completely off. Some of the characters weren't even the right colors. So then we brought this up, and we got a lot of back and forth. And so one of the problems was, it was always like, here's the problem. We would say it, and then they go, let us get back to you. 3 days later, they get back. Now it's Friday, okay? So now we can't move forward because of the damn weekend. Okay, so then we take it up Monday. So everything was taking a week just to get certain questions answered. And so then finally, they accepted responsibility and said they would reprint the entire 1,400 books. It took weeks for that to happen. Okay, so then I think I even went on the show and told you what was happening, and that they're going to make good on their promise. They're going to stand by us, and they're going to reprint the books, and in 2 weeks we'll have them. So then a week goes by. We asked them, how's it going? And they said, we're not going to do it. He said, we would just like to, you know, like cancel the contract and send your money back. And then they said, like, and you can keep those books like we would want them. We can't sell those books. And so we have 1,400 books that I don't know what the hell to do with downstairs, and we're moving. So I don't know what to do with them. Anyway, so we're stuck with 1,400 books. So they made more problem for us. They gave us the money back. And then, yeah, RGB, I saw that, Ruth Bader Ginsburg. That's funny. Yeah, so I know that they're using those initials for her. And yeah, so that's basically the story. So then we found another printer. I don't want to say their name, but they come highly recommended. Once the work comes in and it looks great and they meet our approval, I will let you guys know, because I know that there's some people in the chat that are aspiring, you know, crowdfunders and want to do their own book. And when I find that, I'll give you that information, and I'll let you know. I'll basically just endorse them, because I want, and I did with Mix'em, you know, and I want to help other people moving forward on their projects. But the thing is, I kind of feel like a schmuck with Mix'em, because I was kind of still keeping a good face. I was still trusting that they were going to do the right thing, and they didn't. So that was it. Show us. You want to see the bad misprints? Is that what you're asking for? I could show you, but you have nothing to compare it to. So, and with the camera, I don't know how good or bad it's going to look. Without really comparing it and you guys knowing what the original should look like, there's really no point. Let me see. I might be able to. Let me see here. Yeah, I mean, I don't think the camera's really gonna, this right here is a lot more vibrant than this one here. And this is just the dull printing. This isn't even the miscoloration. And some of the pages are really, really dark. So this is the mini print. So you can see it's really vibrant. It's as close to the original as you're ever going to get. And then this one is pretty dark. Even the logo on the bottom is dull looking. So, and I don't know. I mean, I could try to show you, but like, I don't know if I want to show you that page. It's kind of a spoiler. But like this page right here, it's really dark. Like it's not alive. It's almost like it's a horror story, like it's what you'd expect like for like a mystery or a horror comic book. Yeah, so yeah, one of the things is we found out that they didn't tell us that the satin finish was a little bit dull. So it does dull down the look as well. So the finished books are going to be on glossy stock. So the covers should look more like these. So it's the finish dulls the color. It shouldn't, but it does. And so we did iron out a lot of the problems with the new printer. So anyway, yeah, I showed you the mini prints and the Chrono campaign. The link is in the description. We are only $101 away from 50K. So so I want to thank you guys so much for backing the book. For let me just do this real quick. For backing the book, sharing it, being patient with getting the book. You guys are the best. I really do appreciate it. This is a labor of love, and you guys should have had this months ago. The book has been done. We got the book done early. All the artwork, all the files, everything. We got them to the printer early. This has all been on the printers, you guys. So, life is a little bit of a learning curve, and so that's that. So I'm going to show you the video here.
I'm R.T. Bear, and I'm a comic book artist. During my 35-year career, I have worked on many comic titles for DC, Marvel, and Image Comics, such as Adventures of Superman, Ultimate Spider-Man, X-Men, Cable, Spawn, Youngblood, Super Sons, and others too numerous to mention. Now, I'm rocking the indie scene, and that all began with my graphic novel, Black and White. And thanks to people like you, we made that campaign a huge success. Now, I'm hoping that together we can do it again as I switch creative gears to offer you something new and exciting with a style created just for this Chronomechanics title. At this point, you may be saying, sounds good, but what is Chronomechanics about? Well, I'm glad you asked. This wildly funny sci-fi action-adventure graphic novel focuses on the best prepared team to ever turn a wrench. I'm talking about Team 9.2 of Sector 7. Chronomechanics is about the brave, knuckle-busting son-of-a-gun repairman who fixed the big machine known as time. And yes, when I say machine, you heard right. What keeps our time running smoothly is an ancient nuts-and-bolts cosmic clockwork machine that is as huge as the galaxy itself. So join Booth, a prehistoric businessman with anger issues. Caravaggio, frustrated Renaissance artist and inventor. Zen, a child deity with the power of a gem. And a potential new recruit, Doug, a 70s rock god and slacker with crazy dumb luck. As they don their work suits and power up to repair a rip in time, will our slacker step up to become a chronomechanic and take his place as the fourth member of Team 9.2 of Sector 7? Chronomechanics. They do more before the dawn of time than most people do all day. We believe that you will have so much fun reading about the crazy repair misadventures of Team 9.2 as we did making it. So please support this campaign and then spread the word. Thank you. You are awesome.
You guys are awesome. So that video is put together by the great Von Klaus of Monster MD fame. So yeah, you guys, come by. Like I said, the link's in the description. If anybody's new to the channel or wants to back a great book, come by, click the link, check it out. We got a bunch of cool tiers here, and there's things like, even if you back the book, you can add on the poster tier. There's the variant cover collection, and I want to share real quick. Like, there's some interior pages so you can see what the book looks like. But there's a bunch of cool stretch goals. So if you guys buy in right now and back it, you can get a bunch of cool stretch goals. And if you're new to this, stretch goals are pretty much like freebies. So if we hit certain thresholds, people will get cool stuff. So I think at 15K, like 12 through 15, there's 5 additional trading cards that you guys can get. So these are the 5 cards, and we're calling them the variant cover collection. So it's like the superstar cover collection. So we have Tom Bancroft, we have Sean Cheeks Galloway, we have Aaron Lopresti and Carlo Barberi doing various takes on the Chrono characters. We have this kind of exclusive card that you'll get just for backing the book. We got the button here. We got the lucky pick, Doug's lucky guitar pick, and then we have we've added extra pages, and we have a couple tiers that are going to go away as soon as I get the book. So in a couple weeks, these are going to go away. So if you want to get additional cool stuff, back now, because at 35K, you can get a PDF of the Chronomechanics movie script. It's 112 pages, and it's a fun. If you ever want to see what a comic book adaptation for a movie would look like, if you back a book, you'll get this PDF, and it's a fun read. And we're shipping those out ASAP. So if you back it today, within a day or so, you'll get the PDF sent to your email. So those are going to go away once we get all the books in. And the reason we're doing that is because we need to simplify these campaigns. My wife, Pamela, who I've mentioned many times, she's my co-writer and editor on a lot of projects. It'll just simplify these campaigns for her. So if I can take some things off the list there, it'll just be better for her. So that's going to go away in a couple weeks. And then we have the 37 and a half, which is the upgrade. So we've already done that. So now it's a square bound. And then 40K is also going to go away. That rhymed. So golden time card equals free doodle. So 1 out of every 10 books shipped will have a golden time card inserted in the book. So if you get the golden time card, fill it out, send it to me, and I'll do an absolutely free drawing of Doug for you guys. The drawing will be 9 by 12, and this is just an additional fun thing to thank you guys for supporting and backing the campaign. So 1 out of 10, backers will get the golden time card. I'm thinking some of you guys aren't going to send the golden time card because it's just a cool collectible. They came out really, really good. I showed them off on some of the live streams. They're like a metallic gold paper, and both sides are that metallic gold on that paper, and printed is on the front is the actual time card itself. And they came out really, really good. And man, it was hard to find a printer that could do this. So we were thinking at one point we weren't going to be able to do it, but I'm glad Pamela's perseverance came through, and she found a great printer to do it. So we're really happy that that happened. And then the last stretch goal that we have is the 45, and that's the patch, the Team 9.2 of Sector 7 Chronomechanics patch. And it's embroidered. It's a little oversized, and it's killer, man. It looks so good. So yeah, if you guys, like I said, if you backed a book and you want to get the poster package, there's still time for that. The Doug World Tour poster it's bigger than 11 by 17, and it's on more of a cardboard stock, and so is the Time to Panic. And then there's the 4 mini prints, which I showed you guys just a couple minutes ago. So there's that, and then there's the work in progress sketchbook that here's some of the drawings here that you can kind of bring in as an addition to the book itself. And keep in mind, all the book tiers, they come with a trading card. So every one of the book tiers comes with a trading card. And there's the ultimate tier. Here it is right there. The ultimate tier comes with all the above, the 4 variants, all the trading cards, the work in progress, the prints, and it comes with 4 additional cards. So there's actually 10 cards in the set. So this comes with 4 additional cards. So like I said, each one of these tiers comes with their own corresponding cards. So if you get the variant cover collection, there's 4 cards that coincide with the covers. And then there's the team, well, the main book comes with a trading card. And then there's the work in progress book and the sketchbook. And that comes with a card each. So the work in progress comes with its own card, and the book itself comes with its own card. So that's pretty much it, you guys. So we are so damn close to that 50K. And like I said, some of this, like 2 of those tiers will go away in the next couple weeks. So thank you guys for letting me share that with you. Anybody who's seen that already, thanks for your patience. Boob tier, I don't know. There's still time. We could do a boob tier. I'm game. So yeah, we did look into the wax packs for the trading cards. And so what is this? I did wax packs for Clint on the Downcast campaign recently. We couldn't find a printer to do them. So are you a printer? Because you seem like you have like some kind of printing insight. So let me see if I can find these. Yeah, we looked into, somebody in Comicsgate gave us a link to a trading card that we could do them, because like I think Ethan's, the Cyberfrog, had the wax packs, or like the packaging, and I wanted to do that, but it's crazy expensive to do that. So we opted to just do the trading cards themselves. So these are the cards that go along with actually this is the superstar. I missed these are the superstars. So these are the free cards. Everybody's going to get these. So that's what that is. These are the ones that come with the book. So this is one of the 4 that comes with the ultimate. So you can't get this anywhere else. This is one of the cards that come with the ultimate as well. There's the backs. So this is the Time Giants. And so this one comes with the 4 variant. So this comes with the Caravaggio variant. and the backs look awesome, man. There's like a little bio on the back. These things came out awesome. So the Zinn obviously goes with the Zinn book, and then the Doug goes with the Doug book, and Oot with the Oot. And then this is the mechanics card. So this card comes with the main book. So if you back the main book, this card is the one you'll get. And then it's got the bio of what is the mechanic on the back. And then this is the collector card for the stretch goal. So as you can see, everything is done with the exception of the damn books. So in a few weeks, I'm hoping that we'll get those books, and I'll keep you guys, you know, up on how things are coming along, and just I can't wait to get these books to you guys. The book came out so great. I can't wait to see what you guys think. I can't wait to see what the reading experience is like. I really do feel that this book is fairly unique. I don't think you're going to read a book quite like it. Just as far as tone, pacing, and just style. This is way outside my wheelhouse, the style. And you're only going to get to see me draw like this for the Chrono books. So Ultimate Chronomechanics tier, 150. Missed it. Can you repeat, please? So you want me to explain what's in the tier? I can do that. No problem. So let me go back. My clicking music. So here is the ultimate tier. So the ultimate tier comes with the book, the sketchbook, the work in progress sketchbook. All of those are signed. Those two are signed. You get the Doug variant cover, you get the Oot variant cover, you get the Caravaggio variant cover, you get the Zinn variant cover. So that's 6 books total. You get a mini print, like a unique mini print, and like just to this this tier, and then you get the set of all 10 of the cards. So this is the only place you can get the comprehensive full set of cards. So that's the ultimate tier. And that's why it is special. It is the special tier. It is the trading card tier. Yes, indeedy do. So yeah, so that's it. I think I'm going to start winding down here. And it's 1:39 here, so I have not eaten lunch yet. I started off with a donut. That's not a lunch, man. That is not a lunch at all. So I printed and oh my gosh, hand-coded all the wax packs in-house, RT Bear. I have some printing capabilities, but it's mostly small batch stuff. The wax packs are my focus. Maybe that sounds like a lot of work, man. I think I'd feel bad if I asked you to come up with wax packs. So it's the idea that we would print up the packaging, and then you would coat them, and then put them in the like the cards in the container. I'm not really sure what that is. So maybe we can talk privately. Yeah, Clint said the same thing. Yeah, it sounds like a crazy amount of work. It seems like something that would be really expensive too. But I did look into a manufacturer that could do it, and it was really, really expensive. And I don't know, like for me, I like the cards. I'm not crazy about like the packaging itself, but I do know some people do like the packaging. But having said that, I did get 2 of the Cyberfrog books, and I got the trading cards, and I think it's in here somewhere. It's not here. I can't find it, but I didn't open one of them. So one of the wax packs I opened, and the other one I kept sealed. So the collector still exists within me. Deep down, I'm still a collectible geek. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know how collectors feel about the wax packs. So maybe that would be a topic for a different time. Yeah, that's what I think. But there are collectors that I think they might like them in the pack. So I don't really know. I'm pretty far removed from collecting. You know, I've been doing this professionally for 35 years. So I still do geek out from time to time, but it has to be something really, really cool. Oh, okay. So that's what you're all about. Cool. Yeah, I think my bottom line would be pricing and then how much time it would take for you to painstakingly do that. What is that? Oh, is Rooster Puncher, is he in Hong Kong? I'm not sure what that is. But anyways, you guys, thank you so much for hanging. I had a blast. Thanks for letting me go down memory lane, share that Rob Liefeld story. And that was by demand, you guys. So if you DM me or message me, even in the what is it? Where you can contact me and add to this. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad. I just stumble around like an idiot. In the description, under the description, yeah, just, if you guys want me to talk about certain things, just let me know. You can DM me on Twitter, on Facebook, or like I said, just add it, to this. And I read everything. I might not get back to you, but I do read everything. And if there's something you guys want me to talk about, just let me know. And I'll get into it. The plastic boxes. Wait a minute. This is completely uncalled for, man. We are not friends. We are not brothers, and we are not friends anymore, Andino. How dare you? Oh man, I'm glad I hung out for a little longer. Thank you so much for the $5. I do appreciate it. Hi Art, my first time seeing your stream. You stream by yourself. Is that an X-Men poster? How can I get a copy? LOL. This is like, it's pretty much a one-of-a-kind piece. Let me see. I think I got to go this way to show it off. Let me get rid of this. And thank you so much for the super chat. So if I turn this way, you can see a little bit more of it. It's about 10 feet tall by maybe 4 feet wide. And I did a charity for Ronald McDonald House, like a comic book charity. It was more of a collectible charity, and it's when Cable 1 first came out, but it came real close to the X-Men run and stuff like that. So we did a big Cable push, and they made this big old banner. And also this thing, it was before they made those things that stand up from the ground. So this thing was hung from the rafters, like it was a big warehouse, and this thing was hung down. And so it's two-sided, so you can see both sides of it. And it was behind me, so you could see this thing all the way across the convention floor. And I was really flattered when I came in. I saw that. I was like, wow, that is really, really cool. So we made a bunch of money for the Ronald McDonald House. And I asked them just in passing, I said, what are you going to do with that? And they said, we'll probably throw it away. I said, can I have it? And they said, sure. And so then I had to figure out, I forgot how I got it home. I think it was a friend that had a truck. There's no way I strapped that on top of my car, because if I did, it would not be in one piece. It's on foam core, so it's like glued to foam core, so it's fairly rigid. And the back of it is like, it's a big print that they just Velcroed on. But the front is kind of like, not laminated, but kind of, I guess, I don't know how the hell they did it. It's got a little bit of a laminated finish, but it's really awesome, man. It's freaking cool. And so I'm trying to figure out how to get it to Texas, because I'm moving. And the reason this is behind me now is because I moved it out of the T-Bear vault room. So we're kind of cleaning up the house to sell it. So I'm going through a bunch of old stuff. So that's why it's behind me. I think it'll stay there until we eventually move, because I think it looks cool. It looks pretty awesome. So Michael, oh my gosh, you guys are very, very generous. Thank you so much. UK me, I don't know what that means. Me want near mint. Thank you, Gemini Mailer. Plus, keep it going. Oh yeah. As far as packing things, you guys, everything that we pack, everything that comes out of Hack Check Studios and that my wife puts together, as far as fulfillment, we use first class stuff. Gemini Mailer, all the books are in bags, and the posters, we spent more money on the tubes, even though somehow somebody in the shipping destroyed this tube. So we replaced the tube for that backer. So if things get destroyed, just give us pictures and we'll replace those, no problem. And so everything we do is first class. We try to make sure that these things get to you unmolested. But sometimes it seems like shipping, the post, they go out of their way to destroy these things. So when we sent the black and white oversized prints, the posters, Pamela wanted to do the triangle cardboard boxes, and then I was saying, well, I think that they could still like roll over them, and they might be easier to smash. Like round items just kind of roll, and so then we went with those. And the cardboard tubing is really thick; it's like a 1/4 inch thick. So then we got you. One of you guys got your poster, and it was destroyed, and it looks like somebody ran over the end of it. And I was like, how do you run over something round? Like, you'd have to be moving pretty fast, because my logic is that it would just slide out from under the wheel. But I guess if the wheel was big enough, it would just run right over it. So yeah, somebody kind of ran over the end and just kind of crimped it and then popped the end of it off. But it was enough to destroy the poster. And I know, you guys, the collectability aspects of it, it is important, because I'm still like that. Like, you know, when I go to buy comic books, I look for the best version of the comic book, even though I might destroy it once I get it home. But it's just kind of instilled, you know, like I want the best. And when I go get action figures, I would look through all of them and see the one that was painted the best. You know, I'm just kind of a geek that way. So I do understand that. And so when we ship stuff here, and you get stuff from Hack Shack Studios, we make sure that we don't scrimp. We buy the best, and we make sure that it's shipped the best possible way we can. So so thanks for bringing that up. Whoa, another super chat. Very cool. Thank you so much. I never know how to say is it Nigwin, or somebody says Ngayin. I don't know really how to say your last name, so I apologize. I have multiple copies of that issue. Thanks for the info, Art. Yeah. I used to also just buy a reading copy. If it's something I really, really liked, I'd buy myself a reading copy, and then I would just put the other one in a bag. So, like I said, I haven't done that in years, but that's kind of the old collectible, you know, T-Bear. So that's how I would do things. So if I really, it wasn't even necessarily I thought it was going to be worth money. I just liked it. So it's funny when you really like stuff and you're a collector, sometimes you just want to throw more money at whoever made it just because you really appreciate it and you like it. So that's kind of how I am, because I got multiples of Cyber Frog, and like sometimes the other books I do the same. So it's Nawin. So it's Nawin. Okay. So I'll try to remember that, because there's Dustin. Dustin is a friend, and I never say his last name because I never know how to say his last name. And it's weird, like, how do you say your last name? Like, it seems weird. It seems like a weird thing to ask. And it's a fairly common last name too. It's like in like Mexican last names like Gallegos or Garcia, you know, Lopez. You know, there's like it's like Smith, you know, for white people. Did I just say that? I did say it. I'm getting tired. You beat me to it, Mortal V. Like, yeah, I was getting a little tired. And I am getting up there. I got a birthday coming up. Or maybe just win. I've heard it said that way too, where people just say win. I've heard it said all those ways I just said. So I don't know. So let's see. Yeah, the annotation are a bit hard. I'm also on the French side. I could tell by it. Is it boy? How do you say the boys? I don't know how to say. Yeah, it's you got like the French and then the Asian there. French side of the print. Yeah, that doesn't help, man. I've heard all these Nguyen. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how. This is not helping you guys. I'm getting more confused. I'm so confused. Boy to win. The boy to win. Yeah. Oh my gosh, stop. You just made the list. Are getting brain scrambled. Time for lunch. Yes. All right, you guys. So thank you so very much. I do enjoy hanging out with you guys. I got to get back to work on black and white. So I think we covered everything. And I just have a blast. I look forward to just hanging out with you guys. You guys are always the best. Thank you so much for the super chats. I do appreciate them. And yeah, keep an eye. I'll keep you guys posted on the progress of the Chrono stuff. But if you guys haven't backed it, please do so. The link is in the description. And if you guys have ideas for future live streams, let me know. So take care, enjoy your day, and I will talk to you.